The Celtics are going to take a 2-0 lead in the finals.
Being up 2-0 means nothing. Job's not done. We're so close to what we're trying to accomplish. Whatever it takes.
It's a Celtic avalanche.
Being in the final down 0-2, I have a little experience in how to come back.
Luka Doncic, one of the great playoff runs.
They did what they had to do, and now it's our job to go handle our business.
And we'll head to Dallas.
Game 3 is tonight, and Kristaps Porzingis has a rare left leg injury and his NBA final status uncertain. Porzingis now questionable in his day-to-day per the team. Sources telling our Adrian Wojnarowski that there's no indication he will be ruled out and not permitted to try and play at Dallas tonight. Here's Porzingis and Coach Joe Mazzulla yesterday.
Are you optimistic?
I am, of course. I have to be. I'm optimistic, and as I said, I will do everything I can to be out there tomorrow, and yeah, we'll see.
It's a serious injury, and at the end of the day, our team and the medical team is not going to put him in any bad situations. And so we've taken a decision to play out of his hands.
Well, the Boston Celtics did manage to go 30-5 without Kristaps Porzingis in the lineup this season. His presence in these NBA Finals has been immense. With KP on the court, the Celtics have outscored the Mavericks by 25 points this series. Without him on the floor, Boston and Dallas are dead even in points. All right, Stephen A., tell me this. Does KP's injury open the door for the Mavs? Because we saw what a difference maker, especially Porzingis, was in that Game 1.
I believe it does. I definitely does. That's not to say that Boston can't win, but I'm saying that we won't summarily dismiss the Dallas Mavericks the way we would if Porzingis was on the court healthy. You know, being a guy that can step away from the basket and hit threes, looking the way that he looked in the first half of Game 1 when he dropped 18 points. If that Kristaps Porzingis is playing for the rest of this series, the Dallas Mavericks don't stand a chance. I picked them to win this series in 6 games because I thought that Porzingis would be hobbled. And sure enough, he got hobbled in Game 4, and as a result, we don't know his availability for tonight's Game 2, and we don't know his availability for tonight's Game 3. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and you look at the fact that Al Horford's about 38 years of age, you combine that with the way Jason Tatum has been shooting the ball, certainly you don't expect that to last or anything like that, but it does seem to be more of a considerably fairer matchup with Porzingis compromised, if not flat out for the game. There is no question that the Dallas Mavericks, who've been in the game, they came back from 29 down in Game 1 to close it within 8. Game 2, they were in the game from start to finish, essentially, even though Luka Doncic had a chest contusion and leg soreness. Kyrie Irving should be playing better. There's no question about that, along with the others. But being at home in Dallas instead of on the road, although Boston is undefeated in this postseason, on the road, the reality is that because of the problems that Porzingis causes on both ends of the floor, his ability to shoot long range and his ability to, at 7'3", to really rim protect in a way where those floaters that Kyrie Irving and others like to throw up in the lane ain't going to be as easy. He's not in that game. It opens the floodgates for the Dallas Mavericks and gives them a perfect opportunity to potentially even up this series. I'm not saying they'll do it, but it certainly elevates their chances exponentially.
Yeah, I mean, the question is the door open? The door was open for the Mavs because it's a series. Now the door is wide open. Stephen A., you talked about Dallas finishing inside the paint. Just to put statistical numbers on it, when Kristaps Porzingis was on the floor, Dallas's field goal percentage in the restricted area was in the 40s. Kristaps Porzingis off the floor, Dallas finished at 71% in the paint. What have we known Dallas for all postseason? Their lob threats, leading the league in lob threats. No one else came close. Throwing the ball up, dunking it easy, high efficiency looks, getting into the paint, creating. Kristaps Porzingis shut all that down, whether it was in the half court, whether it was in transition with that beautiful play on Josh Green. We talked about that. What happened when Kristaps was hobbled in Game 2? They got a transition dunk. You have to imagine if Kristaps is hobbled or if he's off the floor entirely, Dallas is going for paint. They're going for their mid-range shot if you're Kyrie Irving. Another play we talked about, Kristaps Porzingis was backpedaling in Game 1, was still able to block a Kyrie Irving floater. He made phenomenal plays on the defensive end. He was also a mismatch nightmare on the offensive end. Dallas had no answer for him offensively. He was extremely efficient. So with him not available or hobbled on either end of the floor, the door for Dallas is certainly open.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not going to dispute the fact that he's a big factor. He set the tone in that first half of Game 1. I grant you that. But what, you don't think we think now, Steve, that Boston's going to lose the series because Porzingis is out? They've lost 2 playoff games all year here in the postseason without Porzingis. They were 30-5 without him all year. They're much better than Dallas. Even without him, they're a much better team. Plus, teams in a short scenario like this, this is not the start of the playoffs. This is the end of the playoffs. Teams in a short scenario like this, they can recover from obviously a game or so when their second or third best player is not playing, and all they got to do is win 1 game.
Would you question that if Dallas won both games? If Dallas wins both games and then it's 2-2, then what would you?
Yeah, I would. That's different, but I don't think Dallas can win both games.
Okay.
I think this series. I think Boston's going to win tonight. What do you think of that?
Tonight?
Yes, I do.
Well, here's what I would say to you, Doggy. I get where you're coming from, and we're not in much of a position to make an argument at this particular moment in time, considering the way Kyrie Irving has been playing against the Boston Celtics. But coming into these finals, nobody anticipated that he would be averaging 11 points less than his season average, especially the way that he played, particularly in the conference finals against Anthony Edwards and those trees that existed in Minnesota with Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, and obviously Naz Reid. You're talking about guys 6'10 and above that he's had to deal with, and he dealt with them pretty handily, obviously being strongly assisted by the star that is Luka Doncic. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint that we haven't seen Boston in this series forced to deal with life without Kristaps Porzingis. They knew he was going to be available for Game 1. He came out and was blazing. I mean, that first half was an absolutely spectacular performance by Porzingis. I couldn't believe what I was seeing from him personally, running up and down the court, shooting threes, shoving guys around after posting them up and shooting fall-away jump shots and blocking shots and all. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. Game 2, you knew you were going to have him as well. And then when he gets hurt in the fourth quarter. This is the difference. You're on the road. Dallas is desperate. Kyrie hasn't been himself, and we know it. He's a champion. He knows he's got to play better. And on top of it all, the likelihood of Porzingis being available is really up in the air. So if you don't see him, okay, now you have to prepare to play without him, which is something they didn't have to do in the first 2 games of these finals. We look at Indiana. Indiana's played. We know Indiana's not better than Dallas, but they played Boston better than Dallas has played them thus far. We saw Cleveland with Donovan Mitchell. He goes out. Jared Allen misses the series. We saw what happened there. Jimmy Butler's not available in Miami in the opening round. We saw what happened there. The Dallas Mavericks pose a different problem if they bring their game. And I think they have a better chance at bringing their game with Porzingis out of the lineup than with him in it. That's what I'm saying.
And I don't disagree with that. I mean, it makes it a fairer fight. But in the name of Jerry West, how about Porzingis giving it a go tonight? West played with a torn hamstring in this Boston series in 68-69. 2 broken thumbs against the Knicks in Game 7. How about Porzingis? And I don't want to hear about the Celtics trainers.
No.
It drives me crazy. If Porzingis wants to play in the game tonight, get in the game and play.
No, Doggy, that's ridiculous. The fact that, listen, if he's healthy and he wants to play, that's different. But I'm talking about here's where you're ridiculous. By the way, nice blazer for a change. But here's where you're ridiculous, Doggy. This is the thing that kills me. They're not down 0-2. They're up 0-2. And they're perfect on the road in this entire postseason. It's not a crime if the Boston Celtics say, okay, let's see what happens without Porzingis. Let's give him a break for this game and do everything we can to make sure he's ready for Game 4. We handled them pretty handily in Games 1 and 2. We're perfect on the road in the postseason. We believe we're the superior team. We got 2 resident superstars that could hold down the fort. They should be able to. Derek White and Drew Holiday are no slouch, especially the way Drew Holiday played in Game 2. I'm not saying that you just sit Porzingis down, Andraya. Please don't get me wrong.
I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at Matt.
Doggy.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm just addressing Doggy because Doggy sounds like if Porzingis doesn't play tonight, he's going to have a problem with Porzingis, where there's absolutely no reason to have a problem with him whatsoever, considering the position the Boston Celtics are sitting in right now.
Because they're 2-0 up. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that was the point I was going to make. You contradicted yourself, Matt Dog. You're like, they only need to win 1 in Dallas, and then you tell them to play in Game 3.
Well, here's the thing I'd say.
Why would you do that?
So, in other words, if it's 0-2 down, he'd play, and 2-0 up, he doesn't play. It's the NBA Finals.
You play.
And it's the NBA Finals, Steve. So, in other words, then we're going to let the game dictate, the scores of the series dictate if Porzingis is available. So, if they were down 0-2, you'd want Porzingis to play tonight?
I'm sure Porzingis wants to play. That's why Joe Mazzulla said it's out of his hands.
Andraya, let me address Mad Dog Russo with his hypocritical self. So, Doggy, you're sick as a dog. You just can't go, right? But you got an opportunity to just either go to the office for a regular day at work, or it's Wimbledon, or the U.S. Open. Okay, well, what are you going to do, Doggy? You trying to tell me you can't prioritize a situation, recognize some situations are more important than others? Being down 0-2 is different than being up 2-0. He has that available to him, Doggy. What's the problem with that?
Well,
there's no problem with that, and you know
now. So, in other words, if he was 0-2 down, you'd want Porzingis to play.
If it was 0-2 down, desperate times call for desperate measures. Boston's not desperate. That's my point.
The NBA Finals.
Are they desperate?
I do want to point one thing out.
Are they desperate?
I'm looking at this right here, Mad Dog. So obviously this is his latest, leg injury, the same leg. He also had 2 left ankle sprains, a left quad contusion, a left calf strain, and a right calf strain. So I mean the right, but that's all on the left leg.
Don't go west. How about Isaiah Thomas in '88? When basically he was playing with one leg against the Lakers and played in the games. You remember that?
Excuse me. Time. Oh, no, I'm going to get on you about that. Wrong, brother. Let me get at you right now. That was Game 6. Detroit was up 3-2. Isaiah knew you want to avoid a Game 7, which was going to be at the Forum if you lost that game. And that's why on one leg, he was not trying to come out of that game because he knew that was basically their last shot. He had to do everything that he could. He had already twisted his ankle. Chances are it was going to be hellified sore for a Game 7, and he was going to be compromised. He had to go for it in that moment because a world championship was on the line, and all he had to do was get through the second half. Who do you think you're talking to? You ain't the only one that knows history, my brother. This is basketball. They call me Stephen Naismith for a reason. Watch your mouth. Don't try that with me. You know the conditions were different.
We're still trying to figure out who they is, but you do know a lot about basketball.
They call me.
Yeah, exactly.
Stephen Naismith. That's the first I've heard of that.
Oh yeah. That's what they call him.
Who are they?
Who are they? They call him that. All right.
Basketball aficionados throughout the world.
Yeah.
That's what they call me.
Yeah. You know what they call me? Mollywood. All right. Porzingis has scored 32 of
never
the
gets to Hollywood.
Celtics'
Yes.
49 bench points in the finals. What did you try to say to me?
Never gets to Hollywood.
What did you say?
I said who never gets to Hollywood. Who never gets to Hollywood. Mollywood, who never gets to Hollywood.
Stephen A, I did
I don't know why they call you Mollywood. You don't deserve it because you don't get there. You don't get there.
I lived there for 4 years when I was at NFL Network.
In Stores, Connecticut.
Oh
in Stores,
my gosh!
Connecticut. Yeah, you and Danny Hurley.
You're just salty about something else. Okay.